All right, here we go. We're going to do the chapter 2 activity where we make a cash register or code for a cash register. And this is where things get a little bit more interesting than the first activity, because this is how a cash register actually works. So let's go through it. And this is where we start to use integers and floating point numbers. So the difference between these integer is just a whole number like this can be positive or negative, and floating points are any number with decimal. So let's go ahead and go through these activity requirements. So create your program by following these steps. Start with your Python code with a comment at the top showing your name. So if you didn't watch my first video, I explained what these comments do. These comments are really only meant for anyone who's reading your code, and then they usually get instructions, or you as the coder put down instructions as to what it is that you intend for your code to do. So like for this one, this isn't in the requirements, but I intend for my code to calculate the total price given number of items. See, now this is just an example. I even go to the next line, doesn't matter. Tax rate and cost per item. But this is, I just wanted to show you what actual coders do. They put these comments in here, and the computer itself will ignore all of these comments and just go on to the line where something is actually, where we're giving it instructions. So that's number one. Number two, declare and initialize Python variables as follows. So here we go. What it is asking us to do is take this value of 4 and store it in the variable num items. And we're going to copy that exactly, num items. This is how coders typically format their variables, starting with the lowercase word and then an uppercase and so on. So here we go, num items, and we want that to equal 4. So what's happening is that the computer reads this line and it goes, okay, we're going to have a variable, num items, and anytime from here on, if I say num items, I'm going to substitute in 4. So I'll show you an example of what the computer is going to do. If I put in print num items, what the computer will do is on line 5, it goes, okay, 4 should be stored in here, num items. Now I need to print num items, but num items is 4. So I'm going to print the number 4. And let's see that actually happens. Yep, there we go. 4 was printed down here. Now, if you put in quotations and turn this into a string, it'll print the word num items. Let's see that happen. See, there's a difference there. So if there's no quotations, it's a variable. And it's some sort of statement like this. It's probably a variable. If it has quotations, it's definitely a string. Okay, so I'm going to delete that now. And you're doing that for the other ones exactly like this. So let's go ahead. Cost per item equals 10. And I'm leaving out this dollar symbol. If I put that dollar symbol in, there we go. Oh, now it's not even blue anymore. So what we're doing is we're storing integers in these variables. And if you put symbols other than this, then the computer is going to get confused. Of course, unless you have quotations, but then it's not a number anymore. It's just kind of a statement or string, technically. Then we have tax rate equals 0.08, and this is a floating point number because it has a decimal. So that's number 2. Number 3, we're going to add a statement to calculate and store the subtotal in a variable called subtotal. So your variables need to be descriptive. It shouldn't just be like x equals. It should be descriptive, like subtotal equals. And now some people have done this activity, and they've actually calculated the subtotal themselves, and they put in, well, this is supposed to be number of items times the cost per item, and they put 40. But why are you going to do the math yourself when you can get the computer to do it? See, the beauty of programming is that you get to be lazy and you get to get the computer to do all your work. So the equations are up here. Number of items times cost per item. So you can just copy and paste that right in. And so you're getting the computer to go, okay, here, calculate this for me. And you don't have to do it yourself. Why would you do it yourself? Well, you can get the computer to do it. All right. And then we have tax amount. Well, what's the tax amount? Well, let's have a look at the instructions. Well, it says, oh, that's subtotal times tax rate. Again, why are you going to calculate this yourself when you get the computer to do it? And then the total price as well, that I think was number 5. So look at that. You're going to get the computer to calculate all this itself, and you don't have to do any work. And so now some people are going to run this, and they're going to go, where are my numbers? Well, you didn't ask for the computer to print anything. You only asked it to figure out the numbers, but you didn't ask it to print. If you want everything to print, well, we're going to have to add print statements. So we're going to, that's this last requirement here, add 6 print statements, and we're going to print out this receipt. Again, this is what the cash register does. If you didn't tell the cash register to put in print statements, it's just going to figure out the numbers and then keep it to itself. You don't want that. So here we go. I'm going to do print. And of course, you need to put in quotations, and we're going to put in sales receipt. Doesn't have to be exactly the same as what's up there. I'm going to try to go quickly here. We got another print statement, quotations, number of items. And I'll put a space here and another space. Now, again, some people, they don't let the computer do all the work. They do the work themselves. Why are you going to do the work yourself? You have the computer to do it. They'll put in 4. But here's the thing. What happens if you want to change this to 5? Well, then you have to change 5 down here as well. Change it to 5 down here as well. So if you decide that in the beginning you want to change something, then you would have to change everything yourself, but you don't want to do that. Coders are lazy. They want to minimize their work. So there is a way to do this where everything will update for you. So we're going to take number of items. And we're going to add on, there we go, it's moving again. We're going to take num items. We're going to print that out along with this statement, but we are going to turn it into a string. You can't add 2 different types of data. So you can't have string and number. You need to add 2 strings or 2 integers. You can't add 2 different, a string and an integer. So I'm taking num items, which is 4, an integer, I'm turning it into a string. So what it really would look like is this. See, slightly different, right? Now there's quotations around it. So let's print it and see what happens. Look, number of items, 4. And look, if I change it to 10, look, it's updated. And I don't have to change it down here. I just had to change it in one place. See, you can be lazy. Now I'm going to actually, again, laziness, I'm just going to copy and paste and just change the words. We got cost per item. I'm going to change this to cost per item. Oh, and look at that. Look at that. For me, at least, I don't know if it works on CompuScholar, but I can press enter when it realizes what variable I probably want to be using. Oh yeah, I'm just going to copy and paste again. We got tax rate. Oops. Oh yeah, tax rate. And I'll change this to tax. Oh, there it is. Oh, I did forget one thing. There is a $ sign up here. So I should add that in right there, Shift 4 there. So now when this prints, it'll say cost per item, should say $10. Now we got tax amount. See, at this point, you can probably figure out how to do the rest on your own. Again, we got another $ sign because this is money. And then finally and I need to change that as well. Tax amount, and finally total sale price, also with the $ sign, and I'll put, what is that? Total, there it is, total price. So now we run this, and look, you put in the 3 numbers needed, and then the computer did the rest. It calculated everything and it added in the numbers to the receipt. This is what a cash register does. And you might be wondering, well, hold on, I wrote all this code. I could have done the math myself, but here's the thing. If you want to do the same process, but with different numbers, now you don't have to do all this work again. All you have to do is change the numbers. I'll say I want 10 items and I have a cost per item is 5, and the tax rate isn't 0.08, it's actually 0.06. And you run it, and it figures everything out, and you didn't have to redo any of the code. That's the thing with coding. Sure, you might do a little bit of work in the beginning, but then you can use that code again and again and again, and you don't have to do all this extra work. So anyway, let's put this back so you're not confused as to what you're typing in. There we go. So this is the cash receipt or the cash register activity, and that's it. So keep going, submit this, and I'll see you in chapter 3.